Hi folks, and welcome to the David Wilson Out and About YouTube channel. Well, for those of you that are regular to my channel and have watched previous review videos, you know I really don't like doing unboxings. I don't see the point in spending 20 minutes undoing sellotape and opening up the lid of a box. All I will say about this power station, it's very well packaged, very well presented as well. So that's what I'm going to say about that, and I'm going to get that box out of the way in a minute and get on explaining the features of the power station itself. So the box out of the way. What I'll do first, I'll go through what's actually in the box. So obviously you've got the power station. I've got the handle up at the moment. One of the things I particularly liked about this model is that the handle folds flat. In the previous power station I had, it had a moulded handle. I just like that because if I go down the sort of micro camper line for storage, that could be very, very useful. Obviously that's going to have to be at least about another 3 or 4 inches onto the height of the actual device. So you can fold that flat out the way. It makes it an awful lot smaller. Right, so first off, obviously, as I said, we've got the power station also included, and the power station is in the box. There's this actually very nice carry pouch. So you've got space for the power station itself there, and you've got an accessories pouch there as well. So I'll just put that up there for the moment. On top of that, we have the power cord. In my country, 240 volt. The charger adapter with the 8mm input. A nice touch. You have what I call the cigarette lighter to 8mm input, so you can charge it off your vehicle when you're driving along. And also, a very, very nice touch, you have your solar panel connectors. Right, the solar panel connector supplied with this, as I said, 8mm input, and it's the DC MC4 solar charger cable, which is absolutely perfect. I already have a solar panel, and this is the actual connectors that I use on it. So obviously you'll put your 8mm input in, connect to your solar panel. My solar panel is a portable one, and then it can charge off your solar panel direct. As I said, there you go. I don't know what the length is. I've not actually tested these out yet. This will be in a future video. You've got approximately 3 feet or 90 centimeters of cable. So that can go, imagine that's your car cigarette lighter socket, push it in there, and you can connect it in and charge it as you go along. And the quite hefty, weighty mains power cable, which obviously for the UK has got our 3-pin plug. Now all these fit neatly in this little pouch there, so you can just carry them with you. The other thing the bag comes with is a shoulder strap as well. So yeah, I mean, I was quite impressed with that. I was quite impressed with the quality of that bag and the amount of accessories they supplied. So moving on, back to the power station. Right, the power station is the Swarey S500. They call it a solo generator. It's not a generator, it's a power station. This model, hence the title 500, is a 500 watt, or actually 518 watts to be precise. It's double the size of a previous one. And what I'm going to do, there's no point in comparing it to another one I've got that's quite old, but I am going to use it because I know a lot of people get very confused with what you can actually run on these power stations, and I'm going to try and explain a bit about that for those that don't know. So here we are. Now what I'm doing, I'm bringing my other power station, or my older power station, into play just to use as a comparison. I've had this since, this one is it, Fly Link Tech. I believe I bought it in 2020 in between the lockdowns, the first lockdown and the second lockdown, and I do know I did use it on a 21-day road trip where I was kayak camping and wild camping, and I used it with the solar panel then, so it's at least 3 years old now, and in fact I damaged it the other week, hence purchasing a new one. I had this one on my mind, or had a larger power station on my mind, but while that was running I was sort of humming and hawing about it. I plugged it into the wrong charger and it didn't have protection, and it went bang. So basically that's as dead as a doorpost now, but it's been a good runner. Right, just while I think about it, contents of the box, there is quite a detailed instruction manual in several languages. Not really needed it, but you got it in English, German, French, Italian, Spanish and Chinese, so there is an instruction manual with it anyway. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So this is a 518 watt power station, and this one is a 300 watt power station. Now, my old one, as I said, I bought it a few years ago. I wasn't really naive. I did understand what power stations were, because I'm an engineer, so I've done electrical training. To keep it in layman's terms, you see a lot of questions on forums where people say, can I run a fridge? And you constantly get things like that, and then there's sort of quite hefty explanations. Let's just put it down to the fact that if this is 300 watts and you're plugging it into the mains and you're running a 300 watt appliance, it will run for 3 hours. The easiest way is just to break it down like that. Now this is 518, forget the 18, this is 500 watts, and if you plug a 100 watt appliance into it, it will run for 5 hours. The difference between this one and that one is, being this is older, if you plug something in with a 300 watt output or nearabouts, often they require more power just to get them started. So they may sort of go up to 400 watts just for a minute or so before they drop back down, and that can trip that out. Whereas this has a surge to 1000. So if you plug something in at say 480 watts and it has a surge power and it surges to say 600, this should, I haven't tested it yet, but I will be testing it, this should be able to handle that till it settles back down. So this can surge up to 1000 watts, and it's a 500 watt power station. That is a 300 watt power station, and it doesn't surge. Now, another thing about my old power station, which I didn't think about when I bought it, was if I say plugged in my phone to charge on one of the USB ports, and it will happily charge it. Say it takes an hour to charge. As soon as that piece of apparatus is charged, the power station switches off. It will not come back on. Whereby this one, if you've got it switched on and you switch on to actually charge something, because you've got separate switches, where I'll explain in a minute, providing the cable's plugged in, when that piece of apparatus, say the phone, is fully charged, it will still stay on. So say for instance the phone charge dropped, it's a silly example because the phone charge drops so slow, that would then reactivate to recharge it. And this is very important if you're using this in a camping scenario, in a camper van. If I was running say a small 35 or 85 watt tubular heater off of this, and it was temperature controlled and it switched off the temperature, if it was on this one, it would switch off once it reached temperature, and this would switch off, so it wouldn't come back on. This will then just go to standby, and then once the temperature drops and that little tubular heater needs to reactivate, this will reactivate as well. So it's very important that if you're buying a power station, you need it for that purpose. You know, you want something that will run things through the night on and off. You need to make sure you know that it can do it, and this can. Right, so let's look at the charging options on this. So we've got the 220, 240 volt socket. We've only got one of them. If I power up, there's a power on button there. If I power it up and I press that, that will activate it. Hopefully you can see a green neon. So if you've now plugged in, then that part's activated, leaving the DC side still switched off. I'm going to switch that off. If you've not got anything actually attached to it, this unit will switch off again. So I may actually just plug a lead in a moment just to keep it activated. Right, so if I switch that off, here you have a DC side. So if I press that, you can see that's lit up, and that is actually bringing that column into operation if needed. Switch that off. Switch over here, and that will bring this column into operation as well. This one up here is power on and off. So if I hold it, power off, press again, power on. On the main display, you have your charge rate. It's 99% charged at the moment, and you have your output and your input. So when I'm charging off the mains and I plug in, it's charging at 64 watts, 64 watts so far, and that will show up down there telling you what it's taking in. Obviously, if you plug the solar panel one in or the car one, it will give you those figures as well. I will show you with something plugged in a minute. I'll show you the actual charge going out, but the charge going out is up the top. See, it's switched off because nothing's plugged in. So you've got the amount of power going out and the amount of power going in there, and you've got the rate you're at, which is 99% charged. You have 8 options, or you can charge up to 8 different appliances at the time, obviously up to a maximum of 500 watt. So on the left hand side here, we have a USB-C, we have the on switch to switch that on. We have the USB switch, we have the QC 3.0 ports. We have 2 USB-A ports, and that's it on that side. On the other side, we have I call it the cigarette locker, they call it a car socket, which is fair enough, 12 volt car socket, and you have 2 DC 12 volt outlets. The port below is the charging port, which is an 8mm connector. So yeah, 2 DC, and the inlet is 8mm. Now what I will show you, and it doesn't come with it, because I've got several of these from my old power station. This is a 5.1 times 2.1mm female socket. Not allowed to call it that anymore. Internal socket. And I have several of these already. They're not dear. I will put the price up on eBay and a link to them. And they can be used on these 2 DC sockets on the right hand side as you look at it of the unit. So they can go in there. And then you've got additional cigarette type socket inputs. Other features you have on this, if I turn this round now, I don't want to blind you, is you do have they all have the lights. So if you press once, I've got to power it on. It's powered on again. If I press once, you have the just continuous lights. Press twice, you get a slow flashing light. Press 3 times, you get a fast flashing light, and the 4th time is off. And on the other side, you have the cooler fan input. Do not block that off. So if you are using it in a camper or something, don't push it in with loads of bedding around it or tight against the woodwork. Give it room to breathe. Give it some air. On the top, you have a fake grill, so it looks like a grill, but it's not. As I said, it's 4 kilogram or 8 pounds. Not very heavy. And I was actually surprised at the size of it, to be honest. And talking about the size, it's 19 centimeters, which is about 7.5 inches long. It is 17 centimeters or nearly 7 inches high, and it is 6.3 inches or 16 centimeters width. So it is actually quite a small unit. I was actually surprised. I know I looked at the dimensions, but I still thought it was bigger than it was. And if you look at it, I mean, I've got bigger hands, but I put my hand over it. I mean, literally, that's giving you some sort of indication of how small it is. It's very compact and quite a stylish little unit. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put one thing on charge. The follow-on video from this, I'll actually start loading this. I have been testing it out. I've not tried charging it on the solar panel as yet. Good reason for that. It's been absolutely pouring down the rain. We've been suffering storms, and it's basically not got light. It's dark all the time, so you won't get much out of that. I will probably take it to work with me Saturday and try it out on the car charger. So at least I've got to get a rough idea of the input from the the battery while the car's running. I'll have to wait for another day for the solar panel, but that's mainly for a future video. So what I will do, I will be putting it onto the mains, plugging it in that on an extension lead and building things up. I know I'm going to put a slow cooker on it, which is 135 watt on high, and I'm just going to start loading it up and see what it can take and how long it can run. As I said, I explained earlier, if as I said, it's 500 watts. So if you do put something, say I was on medium on my slow cooker and it's around about 100 watts, that could run for 5 hours. But I'm interested in how much it can actually take to start with. So there will be a series of videos on this as and when I start using it to its full potential. So for the moment, let's just switch on. And let's plug this one in. So we'll stick that in the 3.0 socket. The light goes to standby after about, I think it's 10 seconds. So if I just press that button, it's gone off. So if I just switch it on again. And then I have to press this, what a fool, to bring that on. If you've got nothing plugged in, it will switch off, which is fair enough. So there you go, you can see the actual light. I don't know if it's flickering, I apologise, not a lot I can do about that. So I'll give you the reading. This is 99% charged at the moment. The input is 0, because I'm not charging the actual unit. And the output is, let's light it up again, 0.06 volts. So I'm just charging one battery at the moment. And as I said, when that finishes charging, the light will go out, it's still on. When that's finished charging, it will just stay in standby mode, this unit. So it doesn't actually fully switch off. So if I sort of just went up and decided I wanted to add another battery to it, which I can, bear with me. Now it's 12 volts now, so it's now pulling 12 volts into the charger. So like I said earlier, I've used it for 2 weeks, only indoors. I've had it indoors, I've been working a lot. What I've done, I've literally, when it arrived, it was charged up to 65%. It does tell you in the instructions, please read the instructions. It says, take it up to 100% and take it right down to 0, at least on the first charge. So I did that. So what I've been doing is just plugging all sorts in, going to work, coming back, and then plugging more bits and bobs in, just to literally discharge it down to, I think I took it down to 1% on the first time. I plugged it back in, took it up to 100%, and then I've brought it right back down to 1 the second time. So I've done that a couple of times and I'm quite happy with that now. Right, now one thing I forgot to mention, and this is already a downside, a con, because there's a lot of power stations out there now that will charge to 80% within an hour. They're like, I've got a fast charge. This hasn't. So on the first time of draining it down to 1%, basically 0, plugging it in, it was taking an input from the mains of round about between 62 and 65 watts going in, and doing a quick calculation, a rough calculation, 518 watts divided by 62 and 65, it actually takes about 8 hours 20 minutes to 8 hours 30 minutes, 8 hours 30 minutes to fully charge. Now that is that's a fair time. I am assuming once I get it onto the cigarette lighter type charge, it will be taking in even less, and the solar panel will depend on the type of weather. As at the moment it's so overcast, it will hardly be pulling in a charge at all. So that is a downside. That's something to consider if you really feel that you're going to need, this charged up as soon as possible. If you're driving along, get it, whack it up as soon as you can, or if you're visiting someone or you've got access to the mains power that you can plug it in, and knowing that within an hour you can bring it up to 80%. You're not going to do that with this one. Now, another option, which I will probably talk about more in future videos, is what I will do. I am humming and ahhing as to whether to wait till later in the year and buy a proper camper van, or actually do my micro van conversion that I spoke about on previous videos. either way, if I get one or the other, this will become a main source of electricity power in it. But what I will probably be doing is getting a, say, 100 watt hour battery and actually using that to top this up. You can do that. I will explain more of that in a future video. But like I said, you know, going back to what I just mentioned a minute ago, this charges slowly. So if you need a fast charge, this certainly isn't the power station for you. Right, well, I think that's it for now. Now, this was just not unboxing, but it was just a quick look at the power station, just give you some specs, manufacturer specs. I'll put a lot more in the actual description below, so if you want to read that, there'll be a lot more information in there, and anything I've forgotten to mention. Obviously, I've just shown it with 1 or 2 batteries charging. I will be loading it up. I have done a few other tests, but I don't really want to give you the results of them yet till I've thoroughly tested it. So I will follow this up probably in a week when I've got time, because I've got a lot of shifts at work coming up. I will follow this up with trying to load it up and seeing what it can actually do, how well it performs, basically. At the moment, I'm very optimistic. It's a good bit of kit for the money. I paid £160 for this. Got a really good deal. I think it's up to £199. But again, I'm going to put both links. I think I bought this through eBay at £160, and it was reduced from £199, and that's why I hit the buy now button and I got myself a deal. You can see it around a lot dearer. Look out for my links in the description below, and you might be able to get it a little bit cheaper. Well, that's it for now, folks. I'll see you on the next video. The next video will probably be another product video, because I really do feel that I'm on burnout at the moment. I need a few weeks of just getting on with my work and resting up. So I'll probably do a few more product reviews in between. Things I'm basically catching up on. I've been wanting to do them anyway. And I'll be doing a lot of planning the trips and that. So I'm just going to try and take it a little bit easy on my rest days and relax a little bit. So yeah, I'll see you on the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it the thumbs up, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.